right, cool. Let's
Good
fire it
morning,
up.
fellers.
Hi.
How are
Hi.
I'm great.
we? Reunited after
I'm really
some
good.
cross-country tours, huh?
Ooh.
Yeah, we were doing a lot, weren't we? That was
Yeah,
a good
I've been busy.
opening.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. Like there's a what was there, 2,000-3,000 people there or something like that?
I think it was like a perfect size crowd. Like it
Yeah.
seemed like it kind of just stayed steady for a few hours, but it wasn't overwhelming.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, you kind of got to relax and talk to everybody that wanted to talk. I had a lot of good information. I mean, a lot of fans of this show.
A ton.
That was the most comments I've
Dude.
got. And that's the first time I've ever gotten those in 6 years.
I know, like everybody's like, dude, the bear hunt. I want to hear all about it. I'm like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just wait. You just wait like everybody
Just
else.
wait.
It's
Now you gotta
okay.
wait
Just
more.
wait.
It's okay.
Now you gotta wait more.
Yes, because Matt bailed on us this morning. He went to go record video with Demolition Matt.
Yeah, everything else is more important than our show.
Yeah. Well, at least one Matt is doing content. You know what I mean?
Ooh, spicy.
He was mad at me yesterday.
Yeah. It's fun. It
But
was funny.
I don't care.
just,
I'm like, okay, great. If you want to be the one to cancel our appointment, then you have to be the one that reschedules it because this was something that was agreed for all of us that we were going to do.
hey, you know what, Jared? That's a great rule. It's a great rule.
Yes. It just we said we were going to put the accountability back on ourselves. So it's just like, look, I don't want to chase.
It makes
It
sense.
sucks. It sucks
Yeah.
chasing everybody.
Well, yeah, it's wrangling. It's constantly wrangling, which is great. I mean, hey, at the end of the day, that is business. It's
But-
just a constant. It's a constant flow of saying the same thing over and over again, redirecting, like
Herding
mission
meth
statement.
cats. That's what I like to call
Yeah,
it.
Well,
Herding
you
meth
it's
even
cats.
like-
saw on Saturday, the last thing that I did before I left you guys, I pointed right at you. We are doing our Bear Hunt episode Tuesday, right? You're like, yes, Matt, Bear Hunt Tuesday.
Ah,
Yes.
good to go.
Okay.
All right.
24 hours later.
Yeah. I even flew back. I was in Ohio yesterday.
Did you do it?
Yeah, we did.
Oh
it.
my God,
Yeah.
we gotta talk
Okay.
about
Yeah.
this.
Tell. Okay. Unpack exactly what you did. Unpack exactly what you did.
So right after the opening in Clarksville, I flew out to Columbus, Ohio.
Rewind to the 6 months ago when we get this email.
Okay. So we back up a little bit. So this cat submits a resume. His name is Eric Miller, and he's a former Army medic. And all of a sudden, it's for a staff writer position for Coffee or Die. And all of a sudden, this resume starts making its rounds.
Dude, it got posted in Slack
throughout
to
the
all of us.
entire
Like,
company.
Marty was like, this guy doesn't have skills we need, but I really like this resume.
Yeah.
It was just creative, right? So like we can take like us meth cats, as long as you're creative, like we can take you and mold you into whatever we need you to be, right? And so there was this thread on Slack and it was just like, hire him now. So I get on the horn with Marty and Marty's like, dude, let's surprise this dude with a job offer, show up at his house and see what happens. So dude lives in Parkersburg, West Virginia. And it's one of those places like small town America. They've been hit pretty damn hard
Well,
by COVID.
set the stage a little bit better. This resume was just like, it was awesome. It was like,
Can you
You want
just
me to
read the
it?
resume?
I have it.
Yeah,
Yeah, read the
read
resume.
some quotes from
Yeah.
it because
Okay.
it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, so coached fellow veterans on methods alternative to violence when dealing with naive, entitled college kids that really needed their spine ripped out like in the Predator movies. Well, just the first one. I don't really care for the sequels.
This is his resume.
Yeah.
Awards and accomplishments. Didn't get shot. Work history. After watching the 3.5 PowerPoint presentations that compromised the entirety of the 68W Combat Medic Training Program, provided expert medical care to critically injured and ill service members, provided care to all drunk specialists and E6s too fat to run every morning at sick call, watched infantry hurt themselves in miraculously stupid ways and refused to treat them, otherwise they'd never learn. And last but not least, my personal favorite, complete mastery of rectal thermometry. thermometer.
Dude, this is, of course. All right. So you show up on his doorstep.
We show up at his door and like, I've never seen just a blank ghost face before. He's like, what?
It's you and Marty.
It's me and Marty. And so we set up. So we knew that he was going to be available for this because he was doing just one more follow-on interview. And he thought he was going to do his final interview with Marty. So we got him at his house. And I just call him on the Google Meet. I'm like, hey, how about we just do this interview in person? And I like turn. So he's like, wait, are you fucking with me? Like, what's going on right now? I'm like, just come outside. Let's just do the interview in person. So he comes out and he's just blank face. Like, why are you here? Like, am I in trouble? What exactly is going on? And I just hand him a folder. I'm like, here's your job offer. You want it? And he's like, yes, yes, I want it. And then we took him out for lunch. We had a couple celebratory beers and we got to know a little bit about his backstory. And coming from like, there's not a lot of opportunity in Parkersburg, West Virginia, man. Like it's one of those places, those small town places where you feel like, you're just going to do the same thing over and over again until you die. And come to find out, like after having some decent conversations with him, he's had quite a bit of health issues after getting out post-military and stuff. So man, it felt extremely awesome to be able to get a new person on board. And he's so stoked to get going. And
do we get a video of this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
So we're doing a calf life. The calf life's going to be our visit to Manchester. We went and saw everybody in the roasting facility on Friday, the opening Saturday, and then the job offer yesterday on Monday. Pretty cool.
Dude, that is the coolest thing ever. Like,
yeah,
we need to do more of this.
I know. Because it's like, okay, so you could show up. What was the old like publisher clearinghouse or whatever?
Yeah,
like,
with the balloons and the big check.
Yeah. It's like, it's way better than it's like, hey, here's an opportunity to
what if
put
we
food on
show
your
up
table
with
for
a
the
big
rest of your
check
life.
that has a negative number because that's they have to work for their salary.
It's a big check. It just says $0.
Yeah. But on the subject line, just
Congratulations.
opportunity.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You're going to work for us.
Yeah. That's so cool. So Parkersburg, West Virginia, that's what it's called?
Yep. That's his hometown.
That's crazy, man. When you go to West Virginia, I've only been out there a few different times. It feels like you're almost going back in time.
It does. It still feels like
the only time I've ever been like scared in the United States was at a gas station in West Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
have a
based
great
off
story.
of the movie, like, hey,
I gotta hear it.
You remember like Deliverance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically the way that the towns look in that movie, it's exactly the same. I'm like, dude, how many Deliverance jokes did you get in the military?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, man. It was just like every day. It never ended.
Day. It never ended. Take them panties off, boy.
Squeal, baby. Squeal.
Yeah. I used to always tell people that was my favorite romance scene.
What's your West Virginia story?
I have several, but one, the New and the Golly rivers that run through West Virginia are absolutely beautiful, and they're incredible to run in both kayak and raft. They're a ton of fun. Place is truly incredible as far as East Coast, mountain, rivers. It's kind of got a little bit of everything for the outdoor enthusiast, if you will. I mean,
that was
obviously
the first river I floated.
Was it really?
Yeah. That was like my high school graduation present from my dad.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. It's a great. They've got climbing out there. They've got rafting. They've got kayaking. Like, it's badass. It's just kind of a hump to get out there. It takes a minute to get out there, obviously, from anywhere on the East Coast. Yeah. I went out there for a training and selection program a few years ago, and we were in. I'll just not disclose the town because obviously, who knows if they're still doing anything out there. But we went to a strip club one night. And let me tell you, that is some good people watching, my friend.
I mean, have you ever seen The Wonderful Life of West Virginia?
Yes, that is a fantastic documentary.
Oh, it's so good. Like, there's actually that song that they play is actually really good.
So we were there, and I mean, the talent was incredible. There's no way, shape, or form most of this should have been taking clothes off for money whatsoever. And my buddy next to me, He's got these two strippers next to him, and they're like kissing, right? Going back and forth. And they're like laughing, and they're like, "Oh, we're sisters." And I was like, "Yeah, okay. What? You're not really, right?" "No, we're full blood sisters." And I was like, okay, I've had enough of this place. This West Virginia, you got the best of me. I got to get out of here.
Wow.
I got to go.
Oh my God. You know what that reminds me? Evan, you have to check this out. You have Hulu, right?
Yeah.
Okay. One evening, just watch the first episode of Mr. Pickles. And I think it's something that's going to be right up your alley.
Mr. Pickles?
You've never heard of it?
No, I have never heard of it.
Oh my God. It's about a dog.
Mr. Pickles?
Yeah, Mr. Pickles.
Okay.
It's dude, Evan's going to die. Like
What
you
is
will
this?
watch that first episode and be like, what the fuck? It's about a dog that is Satan. So, so like the first episode, the dog, like the grandpa, there's a kid that has Mr. Pickles, and the grandpa keeps telling the mom that he stayed up late the night before and Mr. Pickles was huffing gas in his room. And then he went to a strip club and he kidnapped the stripper and scalped her and cut her legs off and put him on his back legs and then went back to the strip club to dance. And the dog actually did this.
This is like the day in the life of a canine video idea that we had on crack.
And his portal to hell is under his doghouse where he has like all these slaves and like gimps and stuff like that. Like, you gotta watch this. It's just fucking batshit insane. Because you're like, wait, what? The dog cuts the stripper's legs off and puts the legs on his legs and then walks in to the strip club wearing the stripper's scalp.
Mr. Pickles.
Mr.
Mr.
You know what I've-
Pickles is evil.
What did I watch? Oh, you know what I watched the other day? Because obviously I think all of us are fans of Rick and Morty, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they have Solar Opposites. Have you seen Solar Opposites?
I started watching it. I didn't get too deep into it.
I haven't started that one.
It's from
Okay.
the creators of it, right?
Dude, so funny. It is, because it's Rick and Morty's amazing. This is amazing too. It takes you a few episodes to warm up and into it to figure out like what's going on. And then it has depth. So it has multiple storylines that are moving across in tandem. So they almost have two cartoons within the cartoon, because the alien boy is shrinking people and putting them into like a
terrarium.
Yeah, a terrarium inside the wall. And so he's got hundreds of people that are living inside the wall in a terrarium. And they have a community of people. And then that becomes a storyline and almost a spin-off cartoon. My wife hates this shit. So she's like, I have to, she was gone for the weekend. So when the kids would go to bed, it'd be like, okay, it's time to fire up like something for me, a little something for me. I gotta fire up something like really, really funny and just completely disconnected from reality. Cause it's, being plugged into the business matrix 24/7. It's just like, wears a hole in your brain.
Oh, yeah. Is that what you're doing now? Like, what are you doing at the end of the day to like shut it off, to like kind of power down the brain? You reading?
Well, I don't answer my phone typically after 8:00. Typically even before that. So I have dinner with the kids, don't answer my phone, don't check my email. So I try not to even log on to an electronic device. Because I think you got to create very clear and distinct walls between you and your electronic device, or your electronic device typically will take over your life. So I'm trying not to. I used to get up at like 4:30 and 5 and then get straight onto like Slack, or you start answering emails. Now I'm not doing that. So I'm at least getting up at 5. I'm not getting up at 4:30 in the morning, 5:30. And then I'll just drink coffee and I'll literally just like watch the sun come up if it's not already up, and just kind of address the day.
It's supposedly good though if you wait for your coffee by about an hour or hour and a half.
Yeah.
That was one thing they said in our transition thing. Number one, a whole page of strict changing your behavior with all electronics. And then really was, yes, the first thing that you should always do is go and get sun first without anything. And then after you got the sun, then you start.
Yep.
Aubrey talked about that on our podcast.
Yeah.
That was one thing that, that was one thing I took away from him several years ago when we had the podcast was I drink, typically it's like almost a half a gallon of water in the morning. So it takes me a minute to get through that. So while the pot and everything else is heating up, but I think I'll probably start working out because what I used to do is like work out first, then go get coffee after. And by that time, it's like 8:30, 9 a.m. by the time that you actually hit your first cup of coffee. It's definitely a better timing thing. So for me, that's what I've been doing is I've just been staying off my electronic devices, it's not easy. But it's not as if I have an addiction. We have a company. It's different, right? I'm not just like logging into Twitter to read comments or surf. Like I'm still working my way through the emails from our Alaska trip. So I've got multiple buckets of priorities and how to do that. But nothing's that time sensitive. Like that's the other thing that I'm trying to give myself a little bit of leeway in the context of I have enough time to respond and people can wait so what? If it's another week, like I can respond to people and say, hey, listen, I'm busy. It's going to take me another week.
That was a critical realization I've had in the last month. Number one, like the last 60 days with how busy we've been in the partnerships division with bringing new people on and stuff like that and everything and having people run a bunch of different projects. I started to experience your life a little bit. And that's when I came to that realization that, hey, something might be in my head that I think is the most important thing ever right now that I wanted to tell you and give you. But when people were doing that to me and it was 8:30, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and I'm trying to break away from things, it pissed me off. So that's why I've kind of wiped out my filter now with you of, do we need to? Nah, probably not.
Yeah.
Is it important? No. You're looking at this. I'm looking at this.
Right.
Like, and if I can handle this, because when I don't need you, then I need to do that. Right. That way you can continue to do this.
Well, and there's so much to do. Business is so applicable to the military in so many different ways. Like priorities of work, patrol-based activities, right? Patrol-based activities is
triage of time.
Yeah.
I talked about this with Tim Glover on our last episode, which was time triage and understanding what's white noise and what isn't white noise, what actually deserves attention and what doesn't. And I think that the thing that I did really, really early, and you have to constantly remind yourself on how to do this because I get carried away with distractionary bullshit as well. But the thing that we did really, really early in this business, for me specifically, was and I think I was telling you about this, Logan, a couple of years ago, I would write down and catalog everything that I did throughout the day. So this is how much time I spent here. This is how much time I spent here. This is this project. This is this project. And I would create basically a work time catalog or diary, for lack of a better term. Then I would kind of take a look at that every week, maybe every other week, depending. And I would say, well, this was a fucking waste of time. This was a waste of time. This was a waste of time. And I saw it real time because you would see meetings that never came to fruition. Like people just waste your time. So people want to take meetings with you just to have meetings and they would, strategize or whatever. And it's like, what the fuck is strategy? Fuck off. Like, leave me alone with your bullshit. We
already have enough on the to-do list. We don't need to be looking forward. And that's one of those radical things that have come to light to me in the last 30 days or so of like, no, we just don't have saying no. We don't need to be wasting resources of that. I don't need to be wasting time with people I have to chase, to get answers on things. It's like, fuck it. Let's just move on the things that we already have plenty to do. We already have plenty of ideas. We already have plenty of, we've got 2 years worth of art that we have to market and bring to a customer base. Great. We don't need to sit in a room and plan anymore.
No.
And I think that's why like you just got back from your trip. We just did that long hunt. Like your self-awareness after those things is so heightened, and you like really understand, and you take like a exterior look from like how you're consuming and playing with this thing. One tip, trick thing that I started doing was like, I'll just reshuffle all of my apps on my phone. So like, so because
it's not muscle memory.
Yeah. Because like you sit down, you're like, oh, I'm on the couch, like boop, boop. Like it becomes muscle memory intuitive to just like become time wasting.
By the way,
so if you shuffle all that stuff, it's not innately going to happen.
Actually, I just spent a lot of time reorganizing my phone and everything to be more getting rid of all the useless shit. Like, I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need this.
Yeah, I don't have any. So my opening page, so the first page on the phone, I have no apps on it. It's just a blank picture of me and my bear chair. It's just me and my bear chair. You know, my happy spot. You know what I'm talking about. And that way, when I open it, or inadvertently when I open it, there's nothing there, and I'm like, okay, never mind. So I'm trying to be very conscious of the electronic interference in my life. I think that that's something that everybody, I see it all the time now. If you watch watch people, holy shit,
it's a tick now. It's a tick. Like watch as soon as people sit down.
Well, I used to watch you. So don't take this in a bad way. But anytime there was a lull in the conversation, like when Jared would check out of a conversation, he would check right back into his phone. And so we would be talking in a group, and I would watch, like Jared would check right into his phone. If there was a lull in the conversation, he was on his phone, like 100%. But all of us do it. So I'm not just pointing the finger at you, because it's really easy to be externally critical of people, but I do it too.
I had that obsession, and it was almost like a sickness of I could not have any notifications or messages. And guess what? 3 weeks ago, I turned them all off. And now it's like, that has been great, because it's like going through emails once a day where you're done. And then if you get anything else during the day, then it's fairly important. Because, so it's just like, that has been great. By the way, I haven't gotten to check out that episode you just did with Tim, but I got a lot of messages to me from that.
Dude, I got a ton of messages off that.
The people that listened to it, they were like, whoa, just listen to Evan and Tim. But then they wanted to ask me questions upon whatever it was that you guys were talking about. I was like, dude, I probably got 30 or so messages yesterday from people that already are in my inbox, but they were all about that episode of you and Tim. But
I got a ton of messages, and I didn't expect that. I really didn't. I was interested in interviewing him because Tim is a very interesting guy, and he has, you guys know me. I'm not a sports guy, right? I played sports in high school. After that, it's like, it's kind of a running joke. Like, I don't have anything to do with sports other than like, I can respect really good players, really good coaches. I don't follow it because I do find it a colossal waste of time, because one, I like data, and I like following victory based on individual and collective activities. So I could see myself getting like super deep into it, to the point where that would be, I would be into fantasy football and trying to run numbers and spreadsheets. And I've seen other friends, other people that I know do that. I'm like, oh man, I can't do that. I'm way too into the weeds on certain things that when I like something, it gets like, it's really, I think it's a positive and negative in my personality. And it drives me a little bit insane, because I just got to fucking go over the top with things, which is good for, like
business.
It's good for business. It's good for, if you want to like learn how to shoot really fast and accurately, and you want to get like good at shit. But it's also very bad because it's fucking time consuming, and it's not addiction. I have the addiction of I can't be satisfied with being just a surface level acquaintance with any subject. I have to like fucking dive into it. Just like archery, right? It's like archery for the last several years. Once we got into it, I was into it. And then it's, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 arrows a day. It's where can we go to shoot animals? What can we do? Like, then we were fletching arrows and building bows. And it is an incredible activity. It's awesome. I love it. It does take a substantial amount of time to be proficient at those things, which there's a lot of people, I think, and maybe this is just my own 2 cents, which is probably just too caffeinated for everybody at this point. But to me, it's positive and negative. So I understand that that's an addiction that I have. So I can't just start things, because then I know it's game over, right?
But here's the thing, and this is something, I've actually been reading a lot lately.
You don't say.
Yeah.
So you shaved your face, cut your hair, and you started reading books. This is fucking
Evan,
weird.
you will not it's so different over here. Like, I walked in, Jared's got his other office where he's going to do his individual Zoom. And it's like, he's got like a Buddha water fountain in there. He's got all these plants in there. I'm like, who are you?
Well,
what just happened?
Did Jericho actually take, did he put something in you? Did he inject some DNA into you?
No, this is all from Mexico.
Dude, it's nice. It's awesome.
trip.
I walked in there, I was like, okay, you feel a little loose and a
it's
little relaxed.
Really, it's really
a good
nice. It's
environment.
almost done. We'll be done with that soon. But what I was going to say, one of the things I've learned recently is, your brain works off power measured by hertz, and it's gamma power. Yeah. And your alpha phase of brain power is generally operating between like 15 hertz and 30 hertz. And that's when you're hyper concentrated. So if you have a hobby that involves you to blast everything out and concentrate, that is the best health that you have for your brain, to get that gamma power time in once a day for you to focus on something that you can drown everything out. And that's the most powerful you'll ever be, is when you're in that alpha phase.
Right.
Because what it was saying is, when you take 5-MeO, it raises your gamma power 40 hertz.
And I don't think a lot of people know that, but anybody can get into alpha at any time.
You just have to meditate, focus. So it's alpha, beta, theta, and delta. Delta is when you're in deep sleep. It's between 0.2 and 1.2 hertz generally. That's nothing's going on. Your brain is in rest. Theta is your dream state. And that's hanging out, in the 8s and the teens. And then your beta is where you generally are, where you're scatterbrained, because you're fucking trying to comprehend a bunch.
And then alpha is where you learn.
That is where you're healthy. Like, if it was saying that if you have a hobby that involves direct concentration, archery is a perfect example of that, though. Which,
because you work your brain into the alpha brainwaves.
Will you grab, Matt, will you grab that little box of pouches that's under the fountain for me? I want to show them this. I started taking this stuff and it fires you up. It's like alpha brain, but more concentrated.
Oh, okay.
So I want to show you guys it, because you feel it.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we got on this conversation, because this was something I learned. I did a study at the psych department at Michigan State University when I was going there. And this yoga teacher approached me after seeing For the 25. And she's like, hey, would you be interested in doing this study where once a week you go and do yoga and meditation, and then you go into the psych department and you perform a series of tests, and then we'll do this over the course of the summer, see what the findings are at the end of it. Got into a lot of talking about brainwaves and stuff like that. But what I learned from that, by the end of the 9 weeks, I was able to improve my short-term memory by over 50%. I'm talking to the doctors in the psych department, and they're figuring this out because I got hooked up to one of those EEG machines where it's got all the electrodes sitting on your brain and everything. And all it was about halfway through, it kind of clicked for me. And it's so simple and it's so wonderful. And then I applied all of this stuff to my last semester of school, and it was like the easiest period of learning I've ever had in my life. But just what I would do is I would just take 10 minutes and I would just do deep breathing exercises, and it would work my brain into that
Saves
alpha.
the day. It completely changes the day.
Your brain is so much more conducive to learning and absorbing what input you're giving it, that you become a more optimized, efficient version of yourself.
I've been taking this. It's called Cover 3. It's just it is straight up stuff for your brain to fire it up, kind of, similar to alpha brain.
And that's not a paid ad, everybody. That's just something that Jared's
this is what I started taking. My friend Rosie from high school sent it out to me to give it a shot, and man, yeah, you throw one of these back in the morning, and it gets you into that focus.
Like, well, I think that's one of those things where the investments in individual health as we continue to get as we continue to evolve as individuals. So we're getting older, every day, every month, every year that continues to go by. The objective would be hopefully you're accumulating more and more knowledge. I think there's a significant amount of the population that wants to be, I would say, intellectually complacent is what I would call it. Yeah. They're fine with kind of checking into Hulu or Netflix and just flushing their fucking time here on this planet.
Alcohol is another big thing, though. You're talking about you have people that pretend to be health conscious, but then will go out and drink 4 to 5 days a week. You're killing the alcohol is killing your brain function, your brain cells, your neuroactivity. Like, it's killing it, it's hurting it. So it's like, what's the point? Yeah. You hope you're learning something every day. Your knowledge is growing through life every week, but you're staying on this level playing field because you're fucking destroying your mind the second you get off work and throw back a bunch of booze.
Well, and I think that's the one thing that I would suggest to most people is you really have to encourage your own curiosity, and you have to fight the complacency. So going back to that patrol-based activities mentality where you have priorities of work. You have shit that needs to get done. And if you don't outline what those things are to get done, you're going to be compromised. And you're going to quite possibly risk mission success, because if you're not moving towards your objective and defining clearly for your individual mission success, and then aligning your priorities of work every day, that's one of the great things about the military is like, what's number one priority? I mean, you guys, Jared was in the Air Force. I don't expect him to understand this, but no, security, right? Yes. So
are you secure?
If you're in fear, or if you have high anxiety, or, and this is a lot of issues with veterans, is I think that they have a lot of high anxiety from obviously their previous profession. Right. If there's fear, then it doesn't allow you to work on the other things in your life that you deem a priority. So number one is you have to take charge of your personal security and then make yourself feel comfortable in multiple environments. And I think when you start to do that, then you can work on the rest of it. It's like, if you're in fear that, you're not going to be able to pay your mortgage, or you're not going to live for another 2 years because you've got a high risk lifestyle or whatever it might be, that's your security is compromised. So number one is you have to get to a place psychologically where you feel comfortable. I think one of the things I've done in the past to just try to relieve myself from anxiety is like, hey, I'm not going to risk life, limb, or eyesight here. Like, this is a business. Hopefully we're not in a business where we're going to risk life, limb, or eyesight. So that allows me to psychologically take a step back and then say, we're in business, and I try to dial that back for people and say, we tell dick jokes and sell coffee. Like, there's nothing here that's too sophisticated that we need to get wound up about. We create excellent media. Obviously, we love making commercials. We love roasting coffee. Like, the premise of this is ultimately good, but it's allowed me to say, okay, number one, I'm not going to risk life, limb, or eyesight. So number two, what does it really take me to be financially secure? And that was the one thing that I said, I have to be comfortable without. So you have to be comfortable without. Dude, you have to be comfortable just sacrificing it and saying, fuck it, it doesn't matter. Who
personal
cares?
Responsibility is that first step. First step of saying, hey, okay, if I'm constantly, and that's where we have this cloud over us as Americans, because we have elevated what our want is over our need. And that new iPhone, those new shoes, the going out 4 times a week, like, you do the math on that. Like, if you cut those things out, like, and for you to start that process, you have to say, okay, if the biggest piece of anxiety and worry in my life is making my rent, then let me backwards plan and see what's taking a lot of my finances. And that's what a lot of people aren't doing. They don't take responsibility for their lifestyle at all. They will not go without, rather than going, okay, hey, you know what would set me up a lot better to have an extra $250 a month if I put my head down and paid my car off. If I went without for the next 3 months, if I just stayed in rather than going out 3 times a night, because your average cost in the evening is going to be about $60.
Yeah.
If you've got 2 drinks and a meal, and then 3 times a night, $180 a week, like that's an insurance payment. So it's like, you have to start.
You have to. I was literally talking to Marty about this yesterday. I was like, I want to do like a financial tips and tricks on Coffee or Die, to like lay it out for vets, to like, here's how you have.
Start them when they're young, though,
freedom.
rather than vets. If we taught this to our young guys.
Well, no, yeah, for sure. But I think that so many guys who come out of the military, they're not making a huge salary. Like, they already feel like they're playing catch up on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't have a Roth IRA, like the little shit. Like, it's just the little stuff that eliminates the fear out of your head, that allows you to exist in more of a creative space, which ultimately makes your life better.
I want him to finish. I just wanted to jump in and say the personal responsibility thing. And a lot of people don't take it. It's not, hey, if you want a better lifestyle, when you lay down in bed at the end of the night and you think about, what did I do today to push me in that direction? And if you can't find that answer, then guess whose fault it is?
Well, I think it's also a mentality. I think, and I don't know exactly what separates. I think a lot of people, what separates them is fear of not fitting in, right? They want to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. They want to, if they realize
FOMO is the fucking biggest disease on the planet right now.
Absolutely.
But if they realize that this is all credit based, so everybody in America is leveraging credit in order to live, we'll call it a higher end lifestyle. The majority of those people that are living higher end lifestyles, they're leveraging credit in order to do that. And ultimately they're creating indentured servitude to their material possessions. So they're being controlled by their new flat screen TV or their new boat or whatever. And they think of it as freedom, right? This thing is going to provide me happiness. At the end of the day, that's not, for me, at least I define happiness by freedom, which is some of the premise of Free Range American, which is, how do you maintain freedom? And then how do you explore who you really are? So the individual aspects of things. So if I dial it all the way back, this is not new for me. When I was contracting for the CIA, I think one year I'd made like $270,000 a year doing what I was doing. Now, granted, I was gone every day. I was working in the most high risk areas of the world. I had a fucking high stress, like really, like it was one of the most high stress professions you can have. But then I was living in a 700 square foot house in the mountains of Boulder, Colorado, with
a stream right next to it,
with my Toyota Tacoma. Yeah. So there was never a time in my career that I wasn't like, I could just pay this shit off and I can ride this thing out for a long period of time, because I didn't want to be tied to the profession. Ultimately, I wanted to have freedom, and I knew that if something happens to me, I'm going to have to make some significant adjustments in my life. And I think that's where, when we started Black Rifle, and I sold everything. When I say everything, I mean I sold everything that I could sell that was actually worth any form of I should say anything above $500. I think it was not tied down, like it was gone. Which, that purging of your life, it's actually very cathartic when you think about it. It's like, I'm just going to dump all this shit. It's just like, get it all out.
Dead weight.
It's all dead weight. I don't miss any of that stuff, by the way. Like I've either, and if it was really important, guess what? couple years later, fast forward 3 or 4 years later, when we've actually got the business moving, we can come back and get it again. Yeah. Like if it was really that important, like fuck it, who cares? I'll go and try to buy it again. But most of that stuff, and it's not like I collected a ton of material possessions, but it was like the high-end firearms and stuff like that. I was just like, dude, just get this shit out. Like literally, the only things I wanted were like are kept. It was like my first 1911 that was built by this former CAG Sergeant Major that I bought down at Fort Bragg. It was a single stack Caspian 1911. Like there's no way I'm going to sell that. It's my first single stack Caspian 1911. Like there's like things would have to be so bad that that would be like me saying, okay, how do I donate an organ before I fucking do this? And and I shot my first competitions with it. Like it's I had a very tight emotional bond with that item. I think it was like a single stack 1911, the 32 caliber muzzleloader that my grandfather and my dad gave me when I was like 12. My 22 Magnum that was my first rifle lever action that my dad bought me when I was born. Like everything else was fucking gone. It was like I need a Glock 17, I need a 1911, I need a couple other things, but everything else is fucking done. Like it's all gone. To include, like I sold our first roaster. So my very first roaster that I bought, once we started to scale, I was like, we got to get rid of this. That's like $2,000. We got to leverage this capital to get something bigger. I really, really wish I could find that fucking thing now. But yeah, we sold our first roaster. Like, these things aren't your children, right? They're just fucking things. They're
like everything
they're just things.
You're saying right now, it comes. I took a picture of this the other day. This book I just finished called The God Molecule. Here's what it says. Humans suffer from a disease I call everlasting dissatisfaction syndrome. We will never be satisfied with what we possess. It's our human desire to want more, be more, in an endless effort to fill a space that will never be filled with material things. Eventually, we will end up like a spider trapped in its own web.
That's
fucking
exactly
spot on.
Yeah.
But it's so true. You are stuck in an everlasting dissatisfaction syndrome. And if you identify that, then you can start to begin to combat it.
Yeah. And I think that there's such a distractionary, and I wouldn't say that it's a methodology, or I wouldn't say it's a conspiracy or something like that. It's, hey, cell phones are designed to distract you. They're designed to pull your attention in 20 or 30 different ways. And that distraction pulls away from what you need to focus on individually in order to directly prioritize your efforts and work as far as clearly define how you're going to succeed. And that's what I would say. It's a distractionary device. It's like a fucking flashbang that you're throwing into a room all the time. Like bang, 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 bang. It's light. It's bright. It's shiny. Your like eyes are being pulled to it, and it goes off. And it's like doing that every 10 seconds in your head.
Yeah.
If people, and it's to each their own, right? I'm not trying to tell people that what I'm doing is the greatest thing ever either, because I'm not that hypocritical to believe that, I'm fucking so great. I'm just saying this has worked for me. I'm happier than I ever have been in my life by reinvesting my time into the things that truly matter to me. Like I
girls.
Yeah, man. I put my cell phone down, face down, and I connect in with my kids. It's what I do. Like it's kid time. Not I'm half in, half out, because that's purgatory. Or I'm half at work, or I'm half here with the kids. I'm not saying it happens 100% of the time, because there's always something to do. But if you make yourself commit to that and plug in, your experiences are really, really rich. Like yesterday, we got a new puppy, right? So yesterday I got a new puppy, and my cell phone, I had 2 meetings yesterday, which was counted for about 4 hours of my time while I was driving. And the rest of the time, like I was connected in with my kids and, playing with a new dog and trying to be present. That's what Tim Tim talked about too. It's just like, be present, focus on their fucking like the things that are right in front of you. Don't focus on what you need to do 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, because you can carve out time in your planning phase in order to align all of those priorities. But if you're constantly being distracted into multiple different brain phases, even what is that brain phase that you're talking about? Where it's the distractionary
beta.
phase?
That's beta.
Yeah.
It's where,
So if
it's
you're
where you
always
just start
there,
operating. Yeah.
Yeah. Versus that I've done this too. I have to do this. Actually, I have to do this. I have to set aside time just to think only about the business. So there is no cell phone. I'm not on my computer. That's one of the reasons why I have notebooks, because if I'm on my computer and I'm trying to write on like Word or something like that, I have the option to research something on Google or, click here or do this, because instead what I'll do is I'll write out what I need. And then if I think about something, I'll have another line, or I'll basically draw a line on the piece of paper. And then, okay, that's what I'm thinking about. I'll research that a little bit later. This is what I'm thinking about. So if I get distracted, I'm still compartmentalizing the information on a piece of paper and then focusing on one thing for extended periods of time. And I do that, honestly, almost every day. I have to do that, or we would be in already 300 different directions. We'd be even worse.
100%.
It's like written meditation. Like, it's that
I never
time
knew
spent with your own
knew
brain.
the power of meditation until the last fucking 3 weeks. Jesus Christ.
Well, when you put your brain into that alpha brainwave, like that's when it's almost like you turn your brain into like a funnel of receiving information that your own brain can provide. Like once you clear out all that bullshit, that's when like your operating system is existing the way it's supposed to. It's like it's the efficiency mode, and all of that stuff becomes super productive. And then you become fulfilled by being able to do those tasks, and it makes you happy, and you live without fear because you're able to compartmentalize your time to be able to do that.
Yeah, last night we didn't do any TV, so I got a Galaxy machine, which is fucking pretty
What's
sick.
that? What is that?
Puts the fucking galaxy and stars on the ceiling, and it slowly moves.
Cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
So at like 8:30, we were in bed just laying flat, watching the ceiling, listening to my playlist music of Zen.
How are we looking up there, Sergeant Best? On target, on time, boys! Fire for effect! Here we go! Set! You heard him! Fire for effect!
So here's one for you. I checked my phone as we were just talking about electronic devices and distractions, but I did check my phone while I just came back. So Mother Jones requested another article with us. This is fucking funny because they wrote a hit piece on us. I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. It was like just these like leftist commie rags that are poor excuses for any form of journalism with no professional integrity whatsoever. Like Mother Jones is basically,
they're trash.
Yeah, they're worse than trash. They're like dog shit on fire in a trash bag. That's where I would classify these fucking knuckleheads. So they reached out because they're doing another article on us. It's like, oh yeah, you're doing another article on us? I'm sure it's going to be fair. So this anti-police journalist reached out. She's like, yeah, we want you to respond by Friday. So my response
was
Mother Jones burnt the bridge with us as they decided to write a bullshit article about our company. Tell her that her commie fucking rag and their excuse for journalism is the equivalent of hot garbage, and they can go fuck themselves.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's a spicy heaven.
So as you can see, not only did I get rid of the beard, I got rid of everything.
Oh, that looks great. I mean,
clean right up.
It's like his best. I mean, that's the best.
It's like
you're running the machine at its highest amount of RPMs right now. It's good.
Oh yeah. I'm peaking.
Yeah,
and I got to fly. I got 10 and a half hours in a fighter.
That's nuts.
10 hours
nuts.
of flight time. Like, holy shit.
Damn you.
It was so amazing. It was so cool. Like, we did our test flight when I landed in Fort Lauderdale. We went up for about an hour, did some formation flying. He let me form fly. And that's when he learned after we got back on the ground, he's like, man, so how long have you had your license? I'm like, I don't. He's like, what? I just let you formation fly with another jet. I'm like, I practiced a lot on DCS.
Talk a little bit about like what it's like to pull those G's. That was pretty interesting.
Dude,
when you were going through that.
I went out the day I left you guys.
Yeah.
I went out. Like, done, son. But I mean, you're every G you put, you're multiplying your body weight by your body weight. So it's like that is an 8.5 G airplane safely. It's a Russian L-39 Albatross. It's used both for a trainer and an attack aircraft in like Czech Republic and all kinds of other.
So they named a plane after the Albatross.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting choice. And interesting choice of words.
But the thing is highly maneuverable. It's like similar to flying almost like an F5 or something like that. I mean, obviously it's got one engine as compared to two, but the thing will still do 480 knots. And it was when we were flying. So we flew the next day, we left Fort Lauderdale and flew to Lakeland, Florida. And we met an American Airlines pilot named Tony that owns a MiG-17. And then we went and dog fought a MiG-17.
That's sweet.
That's crazy.
And by the way, Wiz, my pilot, is a Top Gun graduate with 2,000 hours in the Hornet. Like, this dude knows his shit.
Yeah.
And by the way, the battle of the century is coming up because on the 17th of June, me and Wiz meet Biff in Pensacola, Florida, and we are going to fight.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
It's the Albatross versus the F-18.
That's awesome.
God, that is so cool, man.
But the G's, man, it is just, it's insane. It's
What
just
is
so
it?
cool.
Like, is it hard to breathe? Like, what adaptations do you have to make to be able to function?
So it's not hard to breathe, but you have to keep breathing because your body's first response to it is to hold your breath because it's pulling everything down. So your blood is rushing away from your brain.
Yeah.
And that's what causes you to pass out. So on the way back when we had left Tennessee, he was teaching me how to do proper perfect loops.
Yeah.
And, so he did one, then I did one, and then we were cruising at 17,500 feet, headed home, trying to like kind of beat the weather because there was a bunch of weather coming in. So we were just kind of shooting through. So we didn't have any issues. Well, ATC calls us when we're landing in Tallahassee to get gas, and they're just like, we're a VFR flight. They're like, Roger, you guys are cleared down to 2,000 feet. So we're at 17.5. And he goes, hey, you guys need to come to 2. Flips it upside down and full pull.
Oh, damn.
And then I just wake up laughing.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
You passed out?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. And it took like 10 seconds for you to come back to reality of where you are, what just happened. Like I was in this like drunk state for a good 10 seconds where I'm sitting in the seat with my limbs just limp. Like, what? Where am I? Oh, stick.
So how is Wiz able to not pass out?
It's
body
repetition.
type?
It's
It's
body.
just
It's
doing the
knowing.
activity?
Yeah. I mean, anything that you keep doing and is coming, like he just knows.
So you can practice to become good at this.
And your body gets accustomed to it.
Yeah.
So if you're a fighter pilot with 2,000 hours, there's 2,000 hours of these G-forces coming on you that your body just adapts to, just like it does to anything else.
That's why fighter pilots look so good.
It's like if you go ski moguls 4 times in a row, back to back, are you going to be sore? Is an Olympic skier going to be sore? They're going to be like, I could do that all day.
Yeah.
Right.
Same thing with that is you get better at it. Like if you know it's coming to, and you just got to consciously, you tighten your abs up because you're trying to keep the blood up and you just breathe.
So short little.
Yeah.
Deep.
Yeah. Keep your breath going though.
Yeah.
But don't you have O2 on? Are you using O2?
You can, but that's not going to help you from going out because you're still pulling that blood away from your brain. That's what causes you to go out is everything's going down.
I was just looking at it from like higher O2 saturation rate.
Yeah.
So because is it the lack of blood or is it the lack of O2 to your brain?
It's lack of blood because the cabin, the cockpit's pressurized. So
yeah.
even
So
when
it
we're
doesn't
not
matter.
wearing the mask, we don't have to put the mask on until above 18,000 feet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So you still are getting adequate oxygen. It's just that pressure. But really it's not that long. Like when you're coming in to the seat of that loop, like right there, that is the highest peak of your G-force is when it's really getting that. So it only lasts a couple seconds. So again, like somebody that's used to it, prepared for it. I mean, I don't know how pilots drink and then go do that a couple, 8 hours, 10 hours later, because you being hungover in a hot cockpit and you're pulling G's. There's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way I could do that fucking after blacking out the night before.
Ask Biff. See how that works. I'm sure he knows. That guy is so much fun. Like I was thinking about him the other day because we were on the Middle Fork. The year before last with him.
I was 19,
and he's got a nice sailboat sitting down in Coronado now that he wants all of us to go check out Catalina Island.
I'm not going to fall for that again. Like, fool me once, bro. You know what I mean?
The most amazing experience going there. I can't wait for we're gonna bring the jet out here for you guys, and then we'll eventually get you somewhere, Evan, so you can go and get addicted just like I have. But he flew it up so we could do the flyover for the grand opening of the Clarksville store.
Well, and I think that there's a nonprofit side of that too, right? Yes. Which is the big thing that you're working on. So it's kind of unpack that.
So it's the Top Gun Fighter Foundation, and the nonprofit in itself is going to serve as a vehicle for us to raise funds for these other nonprofits that directly lead to treatment of veterans. So what we will do is we will offer the fighter experience, which we're in full construction in the hangar of the briefing room, the fighter bar, the everything. So when you show up, you get your flight suit, you get a helmet that you get to take home, like that's painted and everything. And then there's a full briefing with a mission. You're in scenario and you go up with a wounded ground guy that gets to experience this with you at the same time. And you guys go complete a mission. Once the mission's complete, then we debrief. You get your call sign, you get your mug added to the bar, because you're always allowed back into the fighter squadron, which is called the 5th Fighter Experience Squadron. And I'll have Wiz on here. We'll do a whole show to explain it. But the whole thing is we're going to use this as if Boot Campaign is having a fundraiser, we will show up and offer the package as a bid item, and then we'll slide our op cost, because we're going to operate this thing at a 0%, so we're only paying for operation costs, and the rest that we sell for that package goes directly to the treatment or to the nonprofit. Yeah. So it's just another thing for nonprofits like the BRCC Fund or Boot Campaign or Veterans Experimenting Treatment Solutions. They use us to come and help them raise a higher ticket item or something like that.
We should auction one off and then also open one up for a coffee club member.
100%.
Do that for one of the monthly giveaways.
I have joined Wiz in the starting capital of the whole thing, and we helped him purchase the second L-39. So you now are going on your joint mission. We picked that up on the 5th of July.
It's cool.
That's super cool. Yeah, that's, it sounds amazing. Like, honestly, I want to go up. I wanted to go up that day, but unfortunately,
I wanted you to so bad because I just wanted to see that smile on your face when you got back. Like, I want to do it again.
Yeah.
Because he kept rolling in on that river to our south, because in the river, when there's nothing below you, you essentially can fly pretty low.
Crazy. Yeah, that is fucking crazy. Because I've been trying to think about. I started my pilot's license several years ago because I wanted to learn how to fly a Super Cub. So I started with a Super Cub. I got 20 hours in, and got distracted by life and financially not capable of completing. But I'll come back to it because like the Alaska trip, it reinvigorated my need to try to do this with those big Tundra tires. You know, I've actually been talking to Cash, the guy that we were working with. So yeah, I've been talking with him. So he's trying to find me a decent plane up there that is not going to break the bank. And
that's awesome.
It's like,
I met with Flamer
original.
yesterday to just talk about a training program that just keeps me going. Yeah, because that 10 hours really, really helped with the communication standpoint.
Right.
Of just listening to him interface with all the air traffic. Like that kind of clicked the light switch for me to understand it. It's like, okay, that repetition got it for me. So now I'm like, all right, let's go.
That's super cool. Like it looks awesome.
I cannot wait for you guys to go up.
Did you say that's 460? So did you say that's 460 knots?
It can do 480 safely.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But below 10,000 feet, there's a speed limit. You can only go 250.
You can only go 250?
Yeah.
So
the speed limit in the sky.
What is that miles per hour? What's your knots to miles per hour?
250 knots. Yeah. So it's probably
1.2 miles per hour.
185 and 300.
So we'll go over 500 miles an hour.
Easily. Yeah. Got it. So is it 1.2? Is that the conversion from knots to miles per hour?
Sure, I think so, yeah. I think that's right.
Yeah.
287 miles an hour.
1.2.
Okay, 1.2. All right. So got it. So it's well over 500. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
think about that.
Funny.
Like, so you can get from like East Coast to West Coast. So you're doing 500 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
So you could go from Seattle to Florida.
Well,
what? 2 hours?
No, it'd be 4 hours. 4 or 6.
500. Yeah, it's 500.
Well,
so 3,000.
I mean, just as a thing, like we left Fort Lauderdale at 8 a.m., refueled twice, had a dogfight, and landed by 2 p.m. in Clarksville, Tennessee.
It's crazy. So we have another grand opening firing up. What is that? Saturday. Saturday. We got a couple actually. We've got 2 right around the corner. Is it Saturday and Sunday? Is that right?
No, I thought it was Friday and Saturday.
Friday,
So,
Saturday.
Oklahoma. Moore, Oklahoma is the 11th of June. Our Fort Worth location is on the 12th of June.
Okay.
So bang, 2 back to back. Moore, Oklahoma, and then Roof Snow is the other one, and that's in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So we've got 2. Stay tuned. Those are going to be posted on social media as far as where we're going to be, kind of the outline of festivities. Last time we had axe throwing. We were giving away mugs. And the other thing is so in these grand openings for every one of these stores, the first 1,000 customers get a numbered coin. I think people would have probably driven 4 hours to understand that if they would have known that. So it's a numbered coin.
We had quite a few people that drove 4
and
hours.
The first 50 people get free coffee for a year. So the first 50 people that come through,
that's a long time. That's a lot of coffee.
That's a lot of coffee. They get a numbered coin, and then they get free coffee for a year. So first 1,000 people, you're going to get a coin. The first 50, you're going to get free coffee for a year. So it's worth showing up. It's
that's so cool.
That coin too, man, is so good. Like it
was awesome.
Like I didn't like. That's the thing is like I hate small dinky little coins. So I've got these. All the other ones are like big, heavy, cool. I've designed every one of them. So if you guys show out to these grand openings, just know that's what you're going to get if you show up. So show up and get a coin, get free coffee for a year.
And we'll be there. You'll be there, right?
We'll be there.
Yeah.
Meeting with Brantley Gilbert on Friday.
Nice.
Do some country music stuff.
Oh yeah.
Brantley Saturday, Gilbert. Having our fun.
Saturday, launching a new shop. Then we go.
What was our theme inside Dallas's store?
Still working it. Yeah, it has to be historically significant to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So
I've got some history over there that I can introduce you to.
They Tom figured that like the assassination of Kennedy wasn't a good theme.
Oh, okay.
That's weird.
Yeah, well,
this seems weird to me.
The Spads are over there. They're the F-16 squadron that's really, really good at close air support. That covered probably you and me in 2007. They were above for almost 7-8 months or something like that. They are Fort Worth natives. There's a lot of history in that. The Spads, I believe, were P-51s in World War II. So there's some cool stuff there with them.
Yeah, we got to put a Mustang on the wall. That's
yeah. That's a good idea. I've got like roughnecks. So I've got petroleum and military. So it's like cowboys, roughnecks, and military. So it's all kind of that history. Dallas is an interesting history. So every one of these cities I've had to go down the rabbit hole within the individual cities and kind of do a little bit of research. Not a ton. Just
the cool thing about that fighter squadron is it's Air National Guard. So all those pilots are Dallas natives or Texas natives that have another job in Texas that all, Wiz, my guy was actually operating the Navy Reserve F-18 Hornet squadron out of there when 9/11 hit. So he rushed to the gate and stood alert literally hours after 9/11 happened, was sitting in the jet on the tarmac, like possibly getting launched to go shoot down. He was about to work for American Airlines, one of his buddies, because his guard buddies all fly for American because it's the American hub out there. Yeah. So it's like, he said it was the craziest, shittiest feeling. He's sitting in his Hornet on 9/11 on the end of the runway. And if they launch him, he's going to shoot down one of his friends.
It's crazy, dude.
What? Yeah.
It's
How
crazy.
fucking wild is that?
What?
Because once it hit the Pentagon, they were like, everybody better get down. If you're not landed, then you're compromised and we're taking you out.
Yeah. And that, I mean, you think about it, it's a hard thing to think about, but it absolutely makes sense because when you start running those big fucking planes into buildings, obviously we saw exactly what that would happen. That would be a horrible situation to be in.
My fear is the next attack is going to be a drone attack.
I don't know.
I'm like, have you seen the new Olympus Has Fallen, where it's got like thousands of mini drones that are all computer controlled that just have explosives on them?
No, I don't.
It's fucking terrifying. It's like, oh God, that's real.
But hey, did you guys watch? Has the Pentagon released all their UFO information yet?
I don't think so.
Have you guys been following that?
No.
They haven't.
No.
Because wasn't that supposed to happen this month?
I think so.
Yeah,
later
I think
this
that's
month.
supposed to happen this month. So I'm super curious as to what that information is going to yield us. Who knows? Right? Probably nothing that we haven't already seen before. I think that we have. This is my 2 cents on this UFO thing. I think this is an advanced information operations war that we're running against our enemies. I think what we're doing is we're putting out enough information about these things
To make them think we have a secret weapon.
Well, I mean, I would love to be in that meeting and say, hey, have you seen the footage of our new capability? Yeah, this is what we're putting out in the news, but this is ours. Would you like to see some insider? Great. That's something you can't protect against. So maybe you should play a little bit nicer,
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't be developing, pandemics and putting them into the world. Like
yeah,
that.
I just wonder if the government is capable enough to be able to do something like that.
I hope. I don't
They
know.
have a lot of capable people. Now, whether or not they're permitted by the fucking idiots that run for office, that's a
the
different.
movie Awakened, though, is a really good example of what probably will happen. Is, we're making progress with the aliens that came out, and then China was just like, we're going to destroy it, and then that's going to and they fuck it up for all of us.
Well, did you see that? We put that story out on Coffee or Die yesterday. The Air Force started making flying saucers back in the 50s.
Wow.
Yeah, they did.
And I can't imagine they've stopped developing that technology.
No, they have. They absolutely have.
Yeah.
They have. Like, I wouldn't worry about that. And we definitely don't have, because if you think about the planes can outfly the human capability at this point, right?
Yes,
that's what we were
100%.
talking to the
They've
Raptor.
been able to since the 60s. Or
Yeah,
if
so
not,
if you think
earlier.
about it, now, if just taking that advanced technology and applying it to a computer system that doesn't have the human limitations. Like we've had to have been doing that for at least 20 years. I mean, we're the fucking country that put people on the moon. I don't think it's a stretch for us to think about having drones that can honestly defy what we know as physics.
Yeah, that is true. Because you drastically decrease the weight requirement and you increase the maneuverability by just removing the human application. Or if we developed some sort of anti-gravity machine inside the cockpit where you pressurized and took away gravity effects, now you're able to perform at a much higher level.
And these are in American airspace. So the other thing that I keep thinking about is, of course, there wouldn't be of course, if you're a Navy pilot or if you're an Air Force pilot, Army pilot, whatever that might be, if we're using these things within our airspace because we want to control the airspace and we also don't want other people to see them, right? We wouldn't allow everybody to understand, nor would they have access to the information. We would just allow them to, your regular pilot would be like, that's a fucking alien ship.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that you would
100%.
disclose the information to the program. You would be utilizing American airspace. And of course, you'd want to try to run a covert and overt test with your own military before you ever expose this technology. Because if one of these things lands, this is the situation I'm going to give you guys, which is one of these things crash lands somewhere in a foreign country. Now they have access to the technology.
Yeah.
Right. If it crash lands in the United States over, one of the areas that we control,
shut it off, take it. Yeah.
I mean,
if you
we
saw
send
China
out a
just
sub.
launched a new bomber that is the copy of the B-2. They just copied it.
That's great. I think it's amazing. I think they should definitely be copying our technology that we were putting out 30 or 40 years ago. Like, that's good for them. You guys have,
Evan, have you watched the documentary?
Now if they would just copy us on.
Yeah. Have you watched the documentary Phenomenon?
I've seen a lot of documentaries.
Hoffman, look that up. It's the new UFO documentary. I think it's called Phenomenon.
I haven't seen it.
But it kind of recaps all the UFO sightings over the last 5 decades. And I'm a little skeptical that the government is behind any of this, just because, one, we started communicating with Russia. Russia, I would believe it was in the 70s or shortly after the wall fell. They basically opened up all of the information they had about UFO sightings in their country. And much that was happening in some of the nuclear testing facilities in the US. These UFOs would all show up to these facilities and they would essentially manipulate their command and controls. So they would like turn on the missiles and then shut them all down.
Huh.
Wow.
It's wild. You guys have to watch that documentary.
Man,
Phenomenon?
I'm in.
The Phenomenon.
Okay. Well, shit, fellas.
Yeah, that was great.
It is, we've been at it for an hour and a half. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Check us out. In Roof Snow is the location in Fort Worth. We'll be up there. More Oklahoma, 2 grand openings coming up right away. Next episode, hopefully we'll have Matt Best on. We'll recap our bear adventure. We keep telling you the next one, the next one, the next one.
Yes.
But eventually we will get our shit together and put it out.